like my sisters, what my name was gonna be before it was Jessica.
Was it
Anyone have an idea?
like Martha or something?
No.
Emma?
Don't
I
just
need you to
guess.
stop.
You either know or you don't. Okay, now up to my kids. Does anyone know? I know. Kids? Okay, what was it gonna be?
Talitha.
Talitha. How many people have heard that name today? Like
Talitha.
really, like know a person named Talitha.
No one.
Do you know someone?
From you.
What?
I've heard it from you.
Okay. But do you know someone named that name? It's kind of a unique name. So, I am going to represent.
Mom and I went to school with it, Talitha.
Did you?
Yeah.
God.
Talitha
So,
Pussy.
my full name is Talitha Kumi Garlic Avery Cheney. That is a long name. I am Grandma June's great grandma.
Great.
Great grandma.
Great.
No, your mom's name was Olive, and Olive's mom was Talitha.
And then there was another one, and then this
Okay.
Talitha.
So 3 greats. All right. So Talitha was born on, can anyone guess the date? Raise your hand if you can guess what
July
day
4th.
Talitha was born. No.
December 25th.
You can't raise your hand.
Second. September 22nd.
Yes.
Oh, because that's your.
September 22nd. Whose birthday is that? It's my
Talitha's.
birthday. What a cool coincidence, isn't it? That my name was going to be Talitha and I was born on her birthday.
Didn't they do that on purpose?
No, Grandma had no idea that Grandma Talitha was born on September 22nd.
No, we
How did
totally found her
discover that?
grave.
Yeah.
We
We did. We discovered that when we were grave hunting
in Utah,
in Idaho.
Idaho.
Close enough.
Okay, so Talitha was a cool lady. She was born to, let's see, David Garlick and Elizabeth Buck. Those were her parents. So, and this line stems through Grandma's line again. So Grandma, then Mavis, then June, then Talitha, then Olive, and then Talitha again. So I also have a picture on my phone of what great grandma Talitha looked like. Let me pull it up so I can show you guys.
It would be funny if you showed a picture of yourself.
I'll have to show you a picture of Elizabeth Buck later because she is awesome.
My hairline. That's Talitha. And like June, you know, this must come in the women's line. She was a very hard worker. She kind of did a lot of cool things. Her mother had a dream one time. Her mother had a dream that 2 men, you know, their family was a good Christian family. They belonged to the Christian church that was in their area. And her mother woke up and she overheard her parents talking and heard her mother say, I had a dream, there's gonna be 2 men that come into town and they're going to ask you to be baptized. And that was the dream and that was the conversation. Not 2 weeks later, there were 2 Mormon elders, is what they called them, that came into town, and she said, those are the men from my dream. And she was baptized, okay? And Talitha was 13 years old, but she said, she's a strong woman, okay? She has her own opinions, just like a lot of women in this family. She said, I'm not gonna be baptized until I meet Joseph Smith, the prophet. That's cool desire. Do you think that happened?
No.
It did.
Oh,
Really?
It did. A few years later, because of persecution and mobs where they lived, they moved to Commerce, Illinois, which is now known as
Independent.
Nauvoo.
Oh.
Okay?
They were in Idaho though, right?
Oh.
No,
Oh.
they were in
You're joking.
Vermont. It's still there. Pennsylvania. is what it
Pennsylvania.
was. They had to move because of persecution. Their father sold the farm for $500. It was probably worth $5,000, and that was in their time. So he got a pretty good price for what most of the saints had to deal with, and most of the saints didn't even get that much. They got there in the November, in the winter time, and they made a house out of a few logs that they could find and kind of a paper door. Different materials were used, but that's kind of how I can imagine it. They lived in a little log cabin with one room until they could build a bigger home in the spring. So this is what she said. I said I would not get baptized until I saw the prophet and heard him preach. I kept my word. I was baptized April 7th, 1840. That's when I was 16 years old, in the Mississippi River by Joseph Smith, the prophet.
Oh,
She was baptized by Joseph Smith right here in the Mississippi River.
Talitha was?
In April.
Talitha was.
And that was
Talitha
probably
was.
the day
Crazy.
after a conference, because conference is always like April 6th.
Yeah. Yeah, so it probably was like, anyone who wants to get baptized, come do it. And one thing I really admired about Grandma Talitha was that she was a valiant member of the church. She said there was no youth groups in that time, and so she joined the Relief Society, which was what all the young women did in that day. They joined the Relief Society, which functioned more as a relief society. They helped other people. They got together and made quilts. They helped with the temple buildings. They did all of those awesome things. She also got to hear counsel from Joseph Smith as a member of that Relief Society. He came in and taught them, and so she was able to hear directly from the prophet. She was in the same room as he was, as he counseled the women of the church. Talitha's dad died when she was only 19 years old, so pretty young, and her mother and their family moved across the Mississippi River to Iowa. The brother was the one that helped run the farm then, because he was old enough then. Let's see. She was in Nauvoo when Sidney Rigdon came from the jail saying that the brothers, Joseph and Hiram, had been killed. So she was there and said it was a very solemn moment for everyone. They were very sad. But that they had a new prophet. She believed strongly. She was part of the group that witnessed Brigham Young speaking as though he were Joseph Smith, the prophet. You guys have heard that story where Brigham Young was preaching. There was some people trying to organize a church, and then Brigham Young came in and said, hey, whoa, the quorum of the 12 is the leadership of the church, and this is how we are going to work this. And so, anyway, she was part of that group that witnessed that experience of Brigham Young looking and acting as Joseph would have. 1845, so Talitha was 21 years old. She married a man named William Howard Avery. They were both 21. He owned a nice farm 4 miles north of Mount Rose. In 1846, so just a year later, they had to leave Nauvoo. So they sold their home for very little money, and her husband got a small cabin for them to stay in. They camped on Mosquito Creek. I don't know where that is, but the bluffs. Anyway, they crossed the Missouri River and camped on the west side at Winter Quarters. Have you guys heard the story of Winter Quarters?
Yes.
It's kind of a place where the saints kind of rested as they traveled west. And so they stayed at Winter Quarters and then moved on later in July. September 3rd, 1847, Talitha's husband got very sick and died. Their son, who they also named William, was only 18 months old, and he was sick as well, but he actually survived. She considered that a blessing from Heavenly Father to be able to keep her son alive. Let's see. She lived with her brother, and when she was 30 years old, she got married to another man named Elam Cheney, who had, guess how many wives?
7.
Close.
6.
No.
9.
5.
Five? He had 5 other wives, so she was the 5th, or the 6th wife. On January 18th, it's close to Isabel's birthday, she had a daughter named Olive Mehitable Cheney, and Olive was the line that we come from, so that was her only daughter that she had. Let's see. She talks about, this is a story written by Grandma Talitha. You can find it on Family Tree, Family Search, so you can read the whole thing. It's got a lot of cool information. But she served in the church. She said she was a Sunday school teacher, a Relief Society teacher, and eventually a Relief Society president. And I think that's awesome, showing her dedication to the church, that she never stopped, what does she call it? She never stopped wanting to be involved in the church, but she says, I was chosen as a teacher. So, and nowadays we say, I was called as this, I was called as that, but they say, I was chosen as a teacher, I was chosen as the president. She does talk about some Indian danger, so the Native American Indians that were here in the lands as they moved across, that was something that they had to deal with in their day. Her husband wanted different wives to live in different places, so he bought a farm for them somewhere else, and had her go live there. And she later moved to Idaho, near Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which was a very lovely place. She said her husband liked that place a lot, and she wanted to stay there because her only daughter Olive was there, and she wanted to be with her daughter there, her daughter and son-in-law. She says, I rode all the way in my buggy. I did not get tired. It's just a statement of like, I'm strong. She was 69 years old, so a little bit older for that time period, kind of getting a little fragile. But she proudly stated that she rode the whole way in the buggy and did not get tired.
Yeah, they're probably burned.
So anyway, that is a little bit of history about Talitha. And one thing I wanted to share about Talitha is there's a story in the Bible, in the New Testament, about Jesus Christ raising a child from the dead. Are you guys familiar with that story? Jesus went to the house because the dad came and got him and said, I need you to come get my daughter. And by the time he got there, she was dead. And do you guys remember Jesus raised her from the dead?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what he called her? What he called her when he walked into the home? He said, Talitha Kumai, which means daughter, arise. That's what the name means. And I love that. That's the only young girl's name mentioned in the Bible, was the name of our grandmother, and that's who she was named after. And thinking about that name, daughter arise, I think Talitha did that. She rose up to the challenge. Everything that came before her in life, her husband passing, raising kids on her own, marrying a man that sent her off to a farm to live with her children by herself, she rose to the occasion, and it sounds like Grandma June did as well. We can all of the women in this family should take this name and apply it to ourselves as part of our heritage. Talitha Kumai, raise up. Daughters, raise up and become the women that Heavenly Father wants you to be, the women that He knows you can be. Today, we're going to go into town and see some of our old ancestors' homes, their very homes where they lived here. And I want you guys to be thinking and be open to the fact that these people established this place and worked hard for you guys. They did it for you. Just like Aunt Charlie was just crying and was very emotional about writing things down. It's because we have a desire for you guys to grow and to do better than we did. You know, they had these small homes. We have big homes. We have food and grocery stores. They didn't have any of that. And they did it for you guys. And so when you go and look at their homes today and you see the small fireplaces and you see the area where they might have gardens and you feel the bugs around you and the heat and the humidity, they lived here. They breathed here. They grew up here knowing that they were planting seeds for their future generations. So keep that in mind and have fun today, okay?
Okay.